it's your girl Mac Cox from MA Couture Crafting. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. This is a subject that I am so passionate about. Why am I passionate about quilt labels? Because I have some family members that gifted my family some quilts. I don't know who the quilts were originally for. I don't know which one of my aunts made it. I don't know when they did it, and that annoys me to no end because they're so special. So, how to make a quilt label? There are a few different ways, and I don't like any of them other than mine. I see people, have the little ones that says this quilt was made by, and then sometimes people will embroider their names on there, and sometimes people will write it in on a pen, and that's better than nothing, but I don't like that. So, what I think a quilt label should consist of is one, make sure you name your quilts. I think it's so much fun to name my quilts. I love it. Call it something. Give it something so that you can reference it. Like, yes, it's the African motif quilt or the Disney bound quilt or the one that I call Lucky Clover. Or what? Come on, guys. Give your quilt a name. Like, have fun with it. Who is this quilt for? Who did you originally intend for this quilt to be for? Maybe it got passed down to their kids. Maybe they gave it away. Who knows? But who was it for? You guys are making amazing stuff. And 100 years from now, people are going to have our quilts and be talking about our quilts the same way that we talk about quilts that were made out of chicken sacks and all kinds of stuff. Like, what is it made out of? You can tell that. But anyway, so who is it for? Who are you? Who made it? Put your name on there. Thank you. When was it done? What year? I'm not saying specifically what date. You can tell me that it took 7 years to make, which is super dope if that's what you're doing. But please, 2021, 2020, give me a little something. Give me a December. Give me a January. So that way I kind of know what the colors we're doing then. Give me something, guys. Okay. And if you're a new quilter, maybe even if you're an older quilter, whatever, number your quilts. I think it's so cool to know. When people do paintings, they number their paintings 1 out of 20 and da-da-da-da-da. You guys get it. So I am on quilt number 18. So my next quilt will be, I just finished 18. That was the Lucky Clover. So next quilt will be 19. Like when I hit 20, I'm going to make 20 special, I guess. Maybe not. I don't know. But I think it'll be cool to know how many quilts I've done thus far. So if you're a new quilter, definitely number your quilts. And what's cool is on my label, like the numbers are hidden in other areas. Like, I know, it's a thing, but I'm passionate about quilt labels. Please label your freaking quilts. And if you really want to get fancy, tell me why you created this quilt and why the person who you created this quilt is special for you. So my mother reads all the labels and it's so awkward, right? It's so awkward. She'll be sitting there reading it. She read my husband's label today, which wasn't anything sappy or gooey or naughty, but it's awkward. But I put a lot of effort. She's like, your quilt labels are amazing. I'm like, are they? But I guess they would be because I'm telling this person why they're special to me, why I made this quilt, what colors I use, why I use K-Facet. Yes, I use K-Facet. That means I spent $13 a yard on you. You're special. So, you guys, please, please, please label your quilts. I'm going to show you guys how I did mine. I tried to get fancy with the Lucky Clover quilt and do one in the shape of a clover. It was a fail. And it could have been a fail for several different reasons. One, I didn't clip the corners on the rounds. 2, I don't sew good enough to be sewing curves. 3, it's just a poor idea, or, it is what it is. So I tried to do it in a clover shape and it failed. So I went ahead and just did a traditional rectangle, but I like it so much, you guys. I love it. And I always put mine in the bottom right-hand corner of my quilts. Yes, they have my name on it. And then the ones that are big enough to sleep under or cuddle under, whatever, have a cute little quote about, the best sleep underneath heaven above is underneath a quilt made with love. Get into it. Have fun with these things, guys. Quilt labels are important. Do not let me catch you making a quilt without a quilt label because it's not done until that label is sewn on. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please watch my other videos. If you found any value from what I told you today, please like and give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below and tell me if you have been neglecting quilt labels. Tell me. tell me so I can get on you about it. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Okay, so we are in Design Space and we typed in shamrock under the images. And we found this shamrock and it was 2 layers, and I thought that was great because I can see that there's about a 1/4 inch border around that. So I thought score, because I'll just sew on that border and then turn it and it'll be perfect, right? In theory. Yeah. So much for that. So I'm just looking at all the images and I decided that I like that one. We're going to enlarge it to 5. I think I did about 5 by 5, which is a good size for a label. And I stick all mine in the bottom right hand corner on the back of the quilts. And then I got really excited because I saw that there is a black background. So that means I get a little dimension here so I can keep the 2 greens and then I'll sew on the black. And then I thought that was perfect. So I duplicated it and then flattened the two layers. And then I went ahead and typed the title of this quilt. So all my quilts have a name, so this is the name for the quilt that I'm typing. And I shrunk it down and dropped it on the top and then flattened that down too. So in order to get the words in there, to type them in Cricut would be ridiculous. And I tried it and it was a fail. So I typed it in Word and I dropped it in Paint. And so I was able to save it as a JPEG. Make sure that you put a color behind it, the same color as the background that it will be blending up against. Because in the little O's and all the O's, you'll be able to see that background. And so you want it to blend. It's not super duper duper noticeable when it's smaller like this. If it were bigger, you might want to think of something else. You might want to think of something else to do. But so I'm just doing it again in pink to show you because I've already done it in green. And then you're going to upload it as a cut file and do, I went ahead and did moderately complex or super complex just so that you can take out the background. So I took out the background of everything, including that green or pink box. You're going to tap on that with the magic wand so that it disappears. And I'll show you what I mean when I tell you the O's. You can see the color behind it. So here we are. I grabbed another shape just to see if I was going to play with it, but I decided not to. I'm trying to show you guys what it looks like because I've already created the one that I wanted. So that one will work. There we go. So you blow it up to the size that you want. And then when you put this on top, you're going to bring it to the front under your alignment tab, send it to the front. And you can't see here the little O. So I'm going to grab a square and I'm going to turn it stark white. And then I'm going to blow it up so you can see. So look for the in between the letters and you'll see that the color shows through, which is why you want to put that color in paint. You see all those green O's? Yeah. Which works fine because I'm using green, but if I weren't, it's going to look crazy. And then you just drag and drop everything, drag it all, and then flatten your entire image. And then you send it to Make It, and it will make it. This right here was incompatible because it was too big, but I'm just showing you how I did this. Now, again, mine failed, but if you wanted to do a shape and you don't mind doing a raw edge applique on the back for a label, it could work out great. And then you can have shaped labels for your quilts in all different kinds of shapes, hearts and all the things. So this is the inkjet printable fabric that I use. It's by Threads, and it has something in there that allows the fabric ink to bond and not wash out. So my husband's quilt, we've washed a million times and the label still looks good. I'm putting it on my Cricut mat and we're doing print to cut. And this is fabric side up. And I printed right on this fabric. I was curious to see if you can print and cut on printable fabric. And yes, you can, as long as it's white. You might be able to do it with some lighter colors, but if it gets darker, I think you're out of luck. And then I just pulled it up and it's backed again with paper. And it feels good. It looks good. And I could have sewn it down just like that and been fine, but I was trying to get fancy. And I thought I was going to turn this sucker so there were no raw edges. And that is where the fail happened. So let's watch me fail. So I grabbed some fusible, lightweight fusible, peeled the back of the paper off, and placed this down right sides together. Put it under my needle with that open toe foot and got to stitching all around just on the black side, just on all that black, which left a 1/4 inch. And then I turned it. And I didn't clip the edges and it just doesn't look great. I didn't feel good about putting that on the quilt. And then I attempted to hand stitch the little black part right there to close that edge up. It just didn't look great. Somebody out there can do it and do it well. It's just not for me at this point in my quilt journey. So let's do what I usually do. Sometimes I will stitch around these and turn them. Sometimes I roll these edges over. So I'm just rolling it over here, and I roll over all 4 sides so that there are no raw edges out. Raw edges can be fine, and sometimes they cannot be fine. So for my quilts, I prefer for them not to have a raw edge out for the labels. And I just turn it again, and I'm heating this up, and then we'll do the other side. This little ruler there is nice because it doesn't burn. It's by Clover, and it'll allow you to do your little 1/4 inch seams and press them and keep it the same width the whole way through. I'm adding a few dots of basting glue here, and because it's warm, it sets just super quick, but I hit it with an iron anyway. And now I'm going to take this fusible. Now for this label, this cotton is thin. It's a thin, I think poplin. It's a thin cotton. So you can see through it. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to be able to see through it. So this is fusible interfacing. This is a little bit thicker than I decided that I wanted in the end. It just left the quilt a little too hard in that corner, and I did not love that. Like if it had been on the other corner where those shoes are, it wouldn't have been a big deal because the shoes are already hard and then this is over there. But I didn't want to create a bunch of hard spots in my quilt. So I didn't end up going with this particular fusible this time, but I did do some fusible on the back, just not this thicker one. It depends upon what you like, but this way right here, this will work. Fuse it down and then hand stitch around it to your quilt. Don't go all the way through to the front. Make sure you're staying between the batting and that back fabric so you're not messing up your designs in the front. And this, it was a little too stiff. I wouldn't feel good about it. So instead I grabbed some good old Heat and Bond Light, the purple one. Fused it to the back, and that gave it just enough for you not to be able to see through it. And I did the same thing with my new Lucky Clover label, which is just the regular rectangle. And I try to print out 2 labels on 1 piece of fabric because it's kind of expensive. I think I got like 20 sheets for 40 bucks. I got mine from Road to California. And now I'm just going to fuse this guy down here in the corner with my iron. And then I stitched around it by hand with a really quick, not a running stitch, but just my regular binding stitch. And I did the same thing with the Lucky Clover here in the corner. And that's it, guys. Yay for quilt labels. Now we can call these quilts done. All right, see you guys on the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.